We have two outer planets coming into a connection to each other that's going to allow for us to build our dreams. And that is no small task. When Saturn, the Lord of time, structure, and things that are real, the builder, meets with Neptune, our imagination god, the one that allows us to have great visions and huge, fantastical, imaginal realms of what's possible. When those two planets are in contact with each other, we often begin an initiation period of a new dream in each of our lives, and we become available to how to build it. And I will say, there is a caveat because this is also a time of hard reality check. If there's some part of your life that needs that reality check so that you can build a stable and long lasting dream and foundation, that's about to show up as well. We're going to see this energy playing out in our sky on the 20th of the month of February at 0 degrees of Aries. And this energy has not been seen in this sign since 1702/3 when they joined together here in this sign. Before that, 555 AD, and before that, in the middle, did I forget somebody? 1350. So all said and done, in Aries, having these two planets come together is relatively rare. And so we should be excited to see something new in our lives. In fact, every 35 or 36 years, around that time, Saturn and Neptune will join together in a sign, as they did in 1989, 1952, and in 1917. They joined together in different signs in our heavens and initiated a 35 to 36 year cycle. So in any given lifespan, we're likely to only encounter three cycles of 35, 36 years. So that's what's really cool to me about this. Like, I'm 63, right? So I've lived through two cycles. I've lived through the 1952 cycle that began then, and I've lived through the cycle that began in 1989. And a lot of my followers here are a lot younger than me, so you might not have lived through a lot yet, but I want you to know that this is important. And I want to give you an expression for this Saturn Neptune thing, that two or three expressions that I want you to really hold on to. All right, I want you to think about this expression in particular that Stephen Forrest, an evolutionary astrologer, actually wrote, which I think is brilliant. And of Saturn Neptune in general, let alone in Aries, a pioneering sign, he says, Saturn doesn't ask us to give up our dreams, only to make them real. Because Saturn is the reality check. He is the taskmaster. He is the tough one. Caroline Casey, an astrologer who I think is a brilliant astrologer, old guard, first, heading the way for us women. I had a reading with her in Cabin John when I was in my 30s and I lived in the DC area. She has a great expression from her book, which I can't remember the name of it. And it is Neptune, the god of our imagination. Okay, Saturn is reality. Neptune lays the tracks for the reality train to follow. So in our lives, as Saturn and Neptune come together, Saturn doesn't make us give up our dreams, right? It helps to make those dreams real. We have our imagination that can lay tracks for the reality train of Saturn to follow. All right. And there is another expression also that Albert Einstein had. I wrote these down, so excuse me, I don't have a perfect memory, but he said, intuition is our sacred gift, and the rational mind is its faithful servant. Intuition, mysticism, seeing beyond the veil, spiritual enlightenment, unconditional love, inner vision, Neptune, right? That's Neptune. Saturn is the rational part, the logical, the linear, making things real. So I do love that Einstein expression that intuition is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. I want to keep this video simple for you. And I want you to be able to understand how you can use Saturn in Aries to your benefit. All right. Because Saturn is not yes, it's a malefic, but it's not a dangerous planet. And we have to have structure, form, discipline. We have to have boundaries in life. We have to build something in life. We have to conserve things in life, preserve things in life. And this is what Saturn can do. And it's going to be here for 3 years. It's starting out and it's going to make a shift of energy for you on the 13th, 14th of February, and it's going to last until April of 2028. So you better get ready. Second thing I want to mention is you had a feeling of it, like let's test the waters and see how this feels last year. That would have been around May the 24th to September the 1st. May the 24th to September 1st on 2025's journey through Aries. Saturn gave you a flavor of how it might feel for him to be back in your Aries whole sign house. Use whole sign houses. Check my description box below for how to cast your chart in whole sign houses. How does it feel to have Saturn in that part of your chart last summer? Because that was a test run and Neptune was there as well. So it's definitely not the same as 96, 97, 98. It's different because of Neptune co-present. Like when I think back to my summer and I think back to how it felt to have Saturn in my Aries sun and moon part of the sky, or my third house for my Aquarius rising. And I think about how it was June and July and August felt for me. I can tell you it felt good. Okay. I like Saturn. I get along with him and I felt ready for this. And I think some of you will say the same thing. I am so grateful you're here. This is really a privilege to be able to serve you with astrological knowledge and wisdom, which is my favorite thing to do, to time your best life. And it sounds like a cliche, but astrology gives us the time map. And by using astrology as a map of time, not a geographical map, a time map, we can choose to engage life with more ease and flow, with more surrender and with more understanding for knowledge and wisdom of why and when and why it's happening. And we don't get grabbed as much by the sky. They're called grabbers. We can work in cooperation with what's happening in the heavens rather than try to buck against it or get hijacked by it. So it does help us to use this as a tool to navigate our lives and time our best lives. I could talk for 5 hours about Neptune and Saturn. I really could, because it's such a deep topic. And it goes into so many layers of what each of those planets brings to the table. I'm going to do my very, very best to give you a kind of Cole's Notes, Cliff Notes cheat sheet for how to handle this energy through until April of 2028. Remember, you can build it and you can imagine it, but first there may be a reality check and a disillusionment, which is common with Neptune-Saturn conjunctions. You got a taste of the disillusionment process last summer, end of May through to September 1st, with those two planets both in Aries, but not perfectly co-joined yet, right? But testing the waters, giving you a foretaste. We can call it a refrainment, like coming close, but not quite. If you were born between 1996, April, and February of 99, you likely have Saturn in the sign of Aries. And if you go back 30 years before that, let's just round it off to 96, go back almost 30 years, 96, 86, 76, 66. So those of you born kind of like 66 to 69 may have Saturn in Aries, right? I'm not going to do a whole lecture on Saturn returns. Let me just put it this way. It means that between the time of Saturn's full-time ingress into the sign of Aries, between this coming 13th, 14th of the month, all the way through until the end of this transit, which will be in 2028. If memory serves me, it's April. Your Saturn is coming back to its place in your birth chart. It's called the Saturn return. And it's always a defining point in life. It's a pivotal reset button for you relative to the place that Saturn sits in your chart. There are 12 pie slices of sky, 12 whole sign houses. And wherever that house is that Saturn is sitting in at birth, when Saturn returns full circle to that same place in the sky, touches your natal Saturn degree where Saturn set when you were born, you are starting a new 30-year cycle. And so there Saturn returns like 29, 30, 31, 28, 29, 30, 31, well, 29 and a half, 30, 31. Saturn returns happen, around the time of 59, 60, 61. These are life cycle epic changes towards deeper purpose and meaning, towards a different direction in general in life. Saturn is Lord of time, Lord of karma. He is very strongly connected to career and purpose matters for various reasons as well. A tip is after the mid-40s and your second Saturn opposition, which it goes back to you being roughly 14, 15, and 16. And then, roughly, speaking, 44, 45, 46-ish. you're going to find that you are having this incredible experience of awakening to purpose. But it is things that happen around 44, 45, 46 in your life can take you back to being 14, 15, and 16 and remembering what some of your true loves were by career, by purpose, by this or that, and rejuvenating that. And in essence, your solar energy is your truest self, and that sun energy comes back online. Let's talk about sun, moon, and rising. Sun sign. It happens to be your true self, your essential nature, your core self, your spirit. It's like the actor who plays the role in the movie. The role in the movie, the character in the movie that was written by screenplay writers or whatever, is your ascendant. It's your game playing avatar, not the player of the game. That's the sun plays the game. The avatar is the character simulation. So I'm a Aquarius rising. I act like Spock. I like humanity. I don't like people. I'm autistic, very Aquarius, right? That's why I love Spock and Star Trek. Negative Captain. I think I'm feeling an emotion. And then we move over to my sun in Aries. Like, everybody lead. I'm leading the way. I was a pack leader in my neighborhood growing up, where if I told people to jump off a cliff, they'd follow me. Like, I literally was the ringleader, right? With the neighborhood kids. But the Aquarius autistic girl didn't talk in school for 20 years. So you know what I mean? It's a bit of both. But your character in the simulation is circumstantially quite sensitive. So you're going to find that when things happen to the ascendant, it's closer to the degree of the ascendant, the more intense, the character's story is changing. Script rewrite, script doctoring, life changes, pivots in the story. Career, purpose, that's very solar focused. Father figures, father. Moon, how you feel and think about your life. It's your emotions and your thinkings and feelings, but it's also your home and nest and mother figures. So quite often, like an eclipse to the moon will eclipse your home. So in our class, if you want to join me in the Divine Timing Masterclass, 5 consecutive weekends in the month of May on Saturdays, I'd love to have you there. There's a little checklist on my website that's going to ask you whether or not you think you're ready for this class, because you don't want to take this class if you've never before learned the meaning of the planets, the meanings of the houses, how to recognize the astrology glyphs. If you don't know the rudimentary language of astrology, this course will not be for you. And by the way, if you want to learn the basics, come to my Sky Reader course. Every September we begin. And this year's course will be at least 7 weeks rather than the traditional 6, to allow for a slower learning curve for some of you who find the pace a little fast. But I am teaching you a new language. So you're going to get a weekly live Q&A call with me that you can come to, and you're going to get a private Facebook group, and all the content is available for replay. And we start May the 2nd. See you guys in the Divine Timing Masterclass in May 2026. I'm so looking forward to having you there and playing in the sandbox of divination together. Lunatic astrology.